All right, Bees, what's going on? Another episode of the Ultimate Market Professionals. Episode, what is this, 13? He said it's all good. Fantastic. Episode 13. The people were in shambles last week. We saw what happened. Little puke, little pullback in the bull market. Everybody's losing their minds. It's going down. Is it over? Should we sell? Are we still holding until Q1, Q2? Yes. Relax. We're holding. Pullbacks happen. It's called a bull. It's called a bull run. At some point, there's going to be a pullback. Everything's fine. And so just give us your thoughts real quick, Bees, on what you saw over the past week, this past weekend. Try to calm these people down because I know they're a little bit, they're in shambles right now.
Yeah, I mean the only crypto I've lost is in Rubet. So
Yeah, the only L's we've taken are on the fucking craps table from Hans.
yeah, yeah. So I mean I think a lot of people have realized this, but it's like whenever you're trying to make 5 to 10x on an investment plus, I know on Andy and Landwolf our targets are more like 20 to 50x, just depending on what Ethereum does. But I think it's important to remember that like whenever you're expecting to get a result like that out of your money and you compare it to what kind of results and what kind of returns you expect out of a legacy market like the stocks, you have to be prepared for it to not be easy. There's a reason that you're able to make that kind of money. And one of the analysts that we follow, he put out a tweet that everyone was kind of freaking out about, myself included, whenever I first read it because I didn't really understand it. But he said, with where his convictions are at right now after the big pullback following the FOMC meeting last week, he was saying that he saw at about a 55% chance that all of the boys club memes were going to do at least a 5 to 10x and a 45% chance that his portfolio would end up being worth about 40% of what it is right now. So at first when you read it and you hear those numbers, you're like, "Oh man, that's almost a roll of the dice. Like that sounds bad." But whenever, like, say you guys have invested $10,000 in your portfolio right now, and you have a chance to either that turns into 50 to 100,000 over the next 6 to 12 months, and there's a 55% chance of that happening, or a 45% chance of your 10,000 being worth $4,000. It's like the upside versus the downside is so much larger, and the percentage of it happening is higher. Like that's why you invest in crypto. So it's like these pullbacks to me and to Priamo, it's like they're completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because it's like this is a 2 year long swing trade that we've been in since the beginning of the year. One pullback for 30% in the middle of the uptrend. Whenever people are freaking out about the pullback, it's like Bitcoin's at 92,000, 93,000. It's like people were freaking out whenever Bitcoin pulled back below 100,000, where, like you said last week, 3 weeks ago, everyone was losing their minds because Bitcoin was finally above. Yeah, the pullbacks we're getting, they're not even that bad because we're still up hundreds of percent on our meme coins since we got in back during the accumulation periods. But yeah, it's not supposed to be easy. It's you're expecting huge returns. It's not going to come at no cost, and the cost is being able to stick through periods like this with conviction and not cheat.
Right. And that all that was very well said. Real quick, are you still in Cabo right now?
No, I
Okay.
saw you froze there on my end.
Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't the fact that we were in Mexico. But I did, yeah, you froze too for me. So all right, we're good now though. I just want to make sure we weren't still in
Okay,
Cabo.
yeah, I'm back in Jersey.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, yeah, I'm in Jersey too. So, but no, you're exactly right. That's the thing is, number one, get rich or die trying. That's always been the mindset. Is how bad do you actually want to win? Okay, are you really gonna allow one little pullback, one little setback, completely have you sidelined and exit the market before the actual real meat of the move happens? The alt season's gonna come in Q1 and Q2. You're gonna allow one pullback because you lost 20-30% of the portfolio that you've invested to? Of course not. It's get rich or die trying. If you're not looking for volatility, if you're not looking for huge potential gains, then this is the wrong market for you because every every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you want to have the generational upside, you're also going to have to deal with the generational downside. You're going to have to deal with the fact that volatility is going to go both ways. Volatility is not just in one direction. A highly volatile asset is volatile in both directions. The point is, what you're trying to do when you're analyzing these markets and you're following guys like us is you're trying to buy it at the correct times so that you buy it at the bottom, you buy it during dips, you buy it when it's bottomed out at the bottom of its range, and then you sell at the top, right? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have this fantastic upside potential where you're going to print a 10, 15, 20x from the lows, 50x from the lows on some of these assets, yet not be able to stomach the 30% pullback, a 20% pullback. It's unrealistic, nor do you deserve the upside then. If you can't stomach the downside, you don't deserve the upside. And that's exactly what happens to people who cheat in these markets. They want all the upside. They see the downside. Oh, sell, oh, sell, oh, sell, oh, sell. They sell for a loss. Then it starts pumping again. They FOMO back in. Oh my God, it's pumping. They buy back in. They buy back in at the top. Starts to pull back again. Oh shit, I gotta sell. And it's just this vicious cycle of FOMOing in at the top and selling for losses at the bottom, when you have to switch the way that you think about these things and say, well, if I buy red and then I sell green, that means I make money. But in reality, most people think the opposite. They buy green whenever it looks good and they sell whenever it looks bad when it's red. So then you're losing money. You can't operate that way in these markets. That's not how it works. You got to rewire your brain and understand that there's got to be a vision down the road as to where this asset's going to be. So though it looks shit right now, I have to believe in something and think that, well, in 4 or 5 months from now, it's going to look a lot sexier as this market continues to play out.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's just so important whenever, especially if you're dealing with a small amount of capital, which, a lot of people who are getting into crypto, that's why they're doing it, is because they don't have a ton of money to invest. In the grand scheme of things, it's like if you're trying to set up for a generational play, anything less than $100,000, which is the majority of crypto investors, that's not a ton of money to try and create generational wealth. So you need to have a ton of volatility to be able to create that. And whenever you are working with a small amount of money, you have to find things that are very asymmetric risk. And by asymmetric risk, I mean, there's a potential to lose a significant amount of the money that you put up, but there's also way more upside than there is downside, which is exactly that tweet that I was explaining. There's a chance for a 60% pullback where, your portfolio is worth 40% of what it is right now. But on the other side of that, there's also a chance for it to go up, 1,000%, 2,000%, even 10,000%, depending on what coins you're invested in. And I saw Murad, for anybody that's on X, if you guys are invested in meme coins, you've probably heard of Murad. He put out a tweet either yesterday or this morning saying that he still sees a 100 to 200x coming out of a lot of meme coins this cycle. But he said the most important thing is to buy the coins that you believe in and to hold them with conviction, because the more that you try and rotate from one to the other, and you try and chase pumps and try and chase the thing that's performing well that day or that week, you're going to continue to get burned. So yeah, that's why we're swing trading. That's why we're not, trying to flip shit on the daily. We're not trying to be Euro scalpers. So
correct. Yeah, you hold the long-term positions. That's where you're gonna have the most success. I was just talking to a gentleman last night I had met. So Jacob, our one friend, introduced me to somebody that he knew growing up. And so he's huge in the crypto space, and that's what he does full time, is obviously just invest into crypto. He starts some projects. He's done NFT projects. He's going to start a video game within the crypto space as well. So he's done very, very well for himself in crypto. And just the conversation that we're having relit that flame inside of me that I had, obviously, years ago whenever I first learned about crypto, of how much potential there is within the ecosystem and within the space as well, outside of just buying and holding assets. So the people that are watching, it's great to swing trade. It's great to make money off of meme coins and do all these great things. That's great, right? That's what we're here to do, is make generational wealth off of our altcoins. But when you make that money and you do start to rotate out of those positions next year into stable coins, into Bitcoin, these other things, there's so much you can do now with that capital to continue to generate an income off of that money. So as opposed to just holding an asset and selling it for higher, now you can use that capital and put it to work. There's so many things that you can do on chain and on these different L1s that have been created. I mean, people are developing video games. People are developing decentralized finance platforms like Aave, Uniswap. You can provide liquidity to liquidity pools and generate fees off of your guys' assets. So one of the things I'm going to start doing here pretty soon is, on my very large boys club positions, start to provide liquidity and earn fees on my liquidity in V3 pools on Uniswap, and start to just boom, pump out fees as we go towards the end of this bull run, because the transactions that are going to be occurring, the volume that's going to occur on these boys club memes is going to be off the charts. So if I'm generating fees off of my assets, that's money on top of my appreciating assets. And not only are my assets appreciating, but I'm also generating fees as they're appreciating, right? There's so many different things you can do to make money in this space, but people just have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that people always say scared money doesn't make money. So it's like you guys have to just make the decision that you're okay with that potential loss. Because if not, if that's always in the back of your mind that like you have money invested in crypto right now, where if there is that 60% correction and we end up flipping into a bear market and, shit hits the fan and doesn't go the way that we've been expecting it to, if you're not okay with that and the money that, because we've been preaching since the beginning, invest money that you don't need to see right now, because the people who put in money that maybe they need to use for paying their rent, they need it for Christmas shopping, they need it to pay their bills, whatever. Those are the people that are going to always be having to sell at the wrong time. Those are the people that are going to always be trying to jump in on the way up, ride it for a couple percentage points, and then be able to sell. And whenever it pulls back, 5, 10, 15%, they're jumping out for a loss. And those people are going to be our exit liquidity all cycle. So you just have to really make that decision in your mind that you're okay with that outcome, that 40%, 45% chance that that is the outcome. Because once you just make that decision and you kind of give it away to the cycle and you just trust your convictions, you trust us, you trust, the tons of people that are in the same boat as us, you're not going to be stressed out about these pullbacks.